The humans arrived at the command station the next morning. Telos had ordered a full security detail to greet them, not because he feared the humans would cause trouble, but because he did not know what to expect. The Coalition database had almost no information on this species. They were new, they were unknown, and after that strange transmission, Telos felt a cold weight in his stomach that he could not explain. The airlock opened with a hiss. The humans stepped through. Telos took one step backward without meaning to. There were 5 of them, just as the captain had said. They wore heavy armor that covered their bodies from neck to toe. They carried weapons that looked crude but solid, and they moved with a smoothness that made Telos think of predators. Captain Minho Park walked at the front. He was taller than Telos had expected. His shoulders were broad. His steps made the floor shake slightly. When he stopped in front of Telos, he towered over the Volari commander by nearly half a meter. "Hi, Commander Telos," the human said. "Thank you for having us." Telos tried to respond, but his voice caught in his throat. The human's eyes were fixed on him. They were small and forward-facing, both pointed in the same direction. Predator eyes. Eyes made for tracking prey. "You are welcome," Telos managed. The other humans spread out behind their captain. The one called Sergeant Yuna Kim stood at his right. She was smaller than the captain, but moved with the same dangerous grace. Her dark eyes swept across the room, taking in every detail, every exit, every possible threat. Behind them came 3 more, a large male with a friendly expression that somehow made him more frightening, a young female with gentle features and a medical kit on her belt, and a thin, quiet male who had not made a single sound since entering. "This is my squad," Captain Park said. "Sergeant Yuna Kim, my second in command. Corporal Woo Jin Lee, heavy weapons. Private Hana Choi, our medic. And Private Junho Beck, scout and sniper." Telos nodded at each of them. His guards were pressing themselves against the walls, trying to put distance between themselves and the newcomers. Liaison Officer Mira stepped forward with a datapad clutched to her chest. Her hands were shaking badly. "I have prepared environmental data for your comfort," she said. "We want to make sure the station atmosphere is suitable for your species. If you could confirm the readings from your homeworld." Captain Park took the datapad. He glanced at it and handed it to Sergeant Kim. "Looks about right. The oxygen is a little low, but we will manage." Mira's translator flickered. "Your world has more oxygen than this? Earth atmosphere is about 21% oxygen." The datapad slipped from Mira's fingers and clattered on the floor. 21%. Oxygen was a reactive gas. It fed fires. It corroded metal. Breathing even 15% oxygen for extended periods caused lung damage in Volari. These creatures breathed 21% and called it normal. "I need to check something," Mira whispered. She picked up the datapad and began searching the Coalition database with trembling fingers. She found the entry for Earth. The more she read, the paler she became. "High Commander," she said, "I think you need to see this." Telos moved to her side. He read the data on the screen. Each line was worse than the last. Gravity 1.0 standard units. The Volari homeworld had 0.3. These humans came from a world more than 3 times heavier than anything the Volari could survive. Surface temperature. Extreme variation. Their world experienced temperatures ranging from frozen ice to boiling heat, sometimes on the same continent. Natural disasters. The list was endless. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, floods, wildfires. Their planet was constantly trying to kill them. Native predators, millions of species, pack hunters, ambush predators, venomous creatures, parasites, even some of their plants were deadly. Telos scrolled down. His blood ran cold. Dominant species classification. Persistence hunters. They chased their prey for hours or even days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They never stopped. They never tired. They simply followed and waited for death. At the bottom of the file, in red text, was the Coalition's official classification for Earth. Class 12 Deathworld. Talos had never seen that classification before. He did not even know the scale went that high. "Excuse me," Private Hana said politely. She was standing next to Mira now. "Are you all right? You look unwell." Mira flinched so hard she nearly fell over. The young human was holding out a small wrapped object. "Would you like a protein bar?" Hana asked. "You should eat something. It helps with stress." Mira stared at the object like it might explode. Hana waited patiently. When Mira did not take it, Corporal Wurjin reached over and grabbed it instead. "More for me," he said cheerfully. He unwrapped the bar and bit into it. The sound was horrible. His teeth, his visible, exposed bones, crunched through the food with disturbing ease. Mira covered her mouth and looked away. Captain Park either did not notice their fear or chose to ignore it. He turned to Telos. "We would like to see the battlefield," he said. "The craft positions, the terrain, everything you have." Telos led them to the tactical room in a daze. He showed them the holographic display of the war zone. The craft had fortified a ridge overlooking the main settlement. They had dug trenches, built bunkers, and set up artillery positions. It was a perfect defensive location. Any attack would be suicide. The humans studied the display in silence. Telos expected horror, despair. Instead, Captain Park nodded slowly, like a craftsman examining an interesting problem. "Sergeant Kim," he said, "you see that ridge?" Sergeant Kim tilted her head. "Reminds me of Busan." "I was thinking the same thing." Private Junho spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet and cold. "I can work with this." Corporal Wujin cracked his knuckles. The sound was like small explosions. "When do we start?" Telos felt like he was losing his mind. These creatures were looking at an impossible battle like it was a minor inconvenience. They had seen the numbers. They knew they were outnumbered 600 to 1, and they were smiling. "Captain Park," Telos said carefully, "may I ask you something?" "Of course. What happened at Busan?" The humans exchanged glances. Something passed between them, a shared memory, a shared understanding. Captain Park turned back to Telos. His expression did not change. His voice was calm and steady. "We held." Outside, the Krath artillery began its nightly bombardment. The station shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The humans did not even blink. The Krath attacked during the day and rested at night. This was their nature. Their cold blood made them slow in darkness, and their eyes were built for bright light. Night was safe time. Night was for sleeping. The humans attacked at night. Telos watched the operation from the command center. His officers had set up live feeds from observation drones. They expected to witness a quick massacre. 5 soldiers against 3,000. It would be over in minutes. It was not over in minutes. Private Junho moved first. He slipped into the darkness like smoke, carrying only a knife and a small sidearm. The Volari tracking systems lost him within seconds. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. "Where did he go?" Mira asked frantically. "I cannot find him on any sensor." "He doesn't want to be found," Captain Park said calmly. He was watching a different screen, one connected to Junho's helmet camera. "Just watch." The camera feed showed darkness. Rain was falling, heavy and cold. The Krath hated rain. It lowered their body temperature and made them sluggish. They stayed in their bunkers during storms. Junho did not stay in a bunker. He ran through the rain like it was nothing. His breathing was steady. His heartbeat, displayed in the corner of the screen, barely changed. He reached the outer edge of the Krath perimeter. 4 warriors stood guard, huddled together for warmth, their weapons held loosely. They were not expecting trouble. No sane creature would be out in this weather. Junho was not sane by their standards. He came out of the darkness without warning. The first Krath died before it knew he was there. The second managed to turn before the knife found its throat. The third tried to raise its weapon. Junho broke its arm and killed it with its own gun. The scream lasted less than a second. 11 seconds. 4 kills. Junho wiped his knife on one of the bodies and moved on. Telos stared at the screen. His hands gripped the edge of his console until they ached. He killed them, Mira whispered. He killed them so easily. He is just getting started, Sergeant Kim said. She was standing by the door, checking her equipment. Explosive charges hung from her belt like terrible fruit. I need to move. Captain, I will hit the ammunition depots in 30 minutes. Confirmed. Woojin, you are with me. We will create a distraction. Corporal Woojin picked up his weapon. It was a massive rotary gun, the kind that usually required a vehicle mount. He carried it like it weighed nothing. What about me? Private Hana asked. Stay here. Tend to any wounded. We will need you when we get back. When you get back, Hana repeated. Not if. She nodded and began preparing her medical station. The humans left. Telos watched them go. Then he turned back to the screens. For the next 6 hours, he watched hell unfold. Sergeant Kim moved through the Krath base like a ghost. She planted charges at 3 ammunition depots, timing each one perfectly. When they exploded, the night sky turned orange. Secondary explosions followed as stored weapons and fuel caught fire. The Kraths scrambled in panic, their communications filled with screaming. Captain Park and Corporal Woojin hit the front lines at the same moment. They did not sneak. They did not hide. They walked straight into enemy fire. Telos expected them to die immediately. Instead, he watched Woojin raise his massive gun and begin firing. The weapon roared like thunder. Krath soldiers fell in waves. Those who tried to shoot back found their bullets bouncing off the human's armor. Those who tried to run were cut down. Captain Park moved beside him, picking off targets with precise shots. A Krath warrior charged him with a blade. Park sidestepped, grabbed the creature's arm, and threw it into 3 of its companions. When they tried to rise, Woojin's gun finished them. The Krath commander sent reinforcements. 50 warriors rushed toward the 2 humans. Woojin laughed. He actually laughed. The sound came through the communication feed, rough and joyful and terrifying. He walked forward into the enemy fire, his gun spinning, and he laughed like he was having the time of his life. He is insane, Mira said. Her voice was barely a whisper. They are all insane. Telos could not disagree. By dawn, the ammunition depots were destroyed. 37 Krath warriors were dead. The enemy's forward defensive line was in ruins. The humans returned to the command station covered in mud, blood, and rain. Woojin had taken 2 hits. The bullets had not penetrated his armor, but dark bruises were forming underneath. He did not seem to notice. Private Hana met them at the entrance. She looked at their wounds with professional calm, then began treating them without a word. Telos watched her pull a piece of shrapnel from Captain Park's shoulder. Park did not flinch. He did not make a sound. He just kept talking to his team about the next phase of the operation. How? Telos asked finally. How did you do this? Captain Park looked up. Do what? You are 5 soldiers. You killed 37 of them in one night. You destroyed their supplies. You broke their lines. Park shrugged. The motion made Hana curse under her breath as she tried to finish bandaging his shoulder. This is what we do. This is what we are trained for. But the conditions, Telos pressed. The rain, the darkness, the cold. Sergeant Kim was cleaning her weapons nearby. She glanced over with a tired smile. We are from Earth, High Commander. We have fought in jungles where the rain never stops. We have fought in mountains where the cold kills faster than bullets. We have fought in deserts where the sun cooks you alive. She clicked a new magazine into place. A little rain is nothing. Talos fell silent. He did not know what to say. Later that day, Mira intercepted Krath communications. She translated them for the command staff with wide, disbelieving eyes. The Krath were afraid. They thought they were under attack by hundreds of soldiers, maybe thousands. Their reports spoke of enemies who appeared from shadows, who walked through gunfire without falling, who killed without mercy, and vanished without trace. One word kept appearing in the transmissions. It did not translate properly into the common language. The closest meaning Mira could find was old, religious. Demons. The Krath were calling the humans demons. Talos looked at Captain Park. The human was eating a simple meal, talking quietly with his team, laughing at something Wujin said. He looked tired. He looked human. But Talos was starting to understand why the Krath were afraid. Warlord Gren had never known fear. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had crushed armies 10 times the size of his own. He had killed so many enemies that he had stopped counting centuries ago. Fear was for the weak. Fear was for prey. But as he watched the footage from the front lines, something cold moved through his chest. 5 soldiers. There were only 5 of them. His scouts had confirmed this again and again. 5 small, soft-looking creatures from a world nobody had ever heard of. And in 2 days, they had killed over 100 of his warriors. "This is unacceptable," Gren growled. "Send the Broodmasters." His officers exchanged nervous glances. The Broodmasters were elite warriors, bred for combat, trained from birth to kill. They had never lost a battle. Using them against 5 enemies was like using a warship to destroy an insect. But Gren was not taking chances anymore. The Broodmasters deployed at dawn. 50 of them, the finest soldiers in the Krath Dominion. They moved toward the Volari defensive line with terrible purpose. Captain Park watched them coming on the tactical display. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. "They are sending their best," he said quietly. "How do you know?" Talos asked. "Look at how they move. Professional, coordinated, no wasted motion." Park turned to his squad. "This is going to be different. These are not regular soldiers. Stay sharp." The battle that followed was unlike anything Talos had ever witnessed. The Broodmasters hit the human position like a wave. They were fast, faster than any Krath Talos had seen before. Their weapons were advanced, their armor thick. They moved as one unit, covering each other, never leaving an opening. For the first time, the humans were pushed back. Private Juno took a hit to his leg. The bullet punched through his armor and buried itself in muscle. He fell, rolled behind cover, and kept shooting. Blood pooled beneath him. Sergeant Kim pulled him to safety while laying down covering fire. "Hana, we need you." Private Hana ran into the battle without hesitation. Bullets cracked around her. One grazed her shoulder, tearing through armor and flesh. She did not slow down. She reached Junho, dragged him behind a wall, and began working on his wound. She had no anesthesia left. She had used it all on previous injuries. Junho gritted his teeth as she dug the bullet out with bare instruments. He did not scream. He did not look away. When she finished, he picked up his rifle and started shooting again. A Volari medic was watching the feed from the command center. He turned away and vomited. Corporal Wujin was surrounded. 6 Broodmasters had flanked him while he was reloading. They moved in for the kill, their blades raised. Wujin dropped his gun. He raised his fists. What followed was brutal and fast. The first Broodmaster swung its blade at his head. Wujin ducked, grabbed its arm, and broke it at the joint. He used the creature's own body as a shield against the second attacker, then threw it into a third. The fourth managed to cut his arm. Wujin headbutted it so hard that its skull cracked. By the time Captain Park reached him, 4 broodmasters were dead. The other 2 had fled. Woojin was breathing hard, bleeding from a dozen wounds, and grinning. "Not bad," he said. "They almost got me." Park did not smile. His eyes were on the horizon, where the Krath command ship sat like a massive beast. It had landed to direct forward operations. It was also the heart of the invasion. Without it, the Krath fleet would have no leadership, no coordination, no way to continue the attack. "Sergeant Kim," he said, "come here." She had taken shrapnel to her side, but she was still moving, still fighting. She looked at Park and saw the plan in his eyes before he spoke. "The command ship," she said. "If we take it out, this is over. It has 800 soldiers inside." "I know." Yuna was silent for a moment, then she nodded. "Okay, I will need explosives, a lot of them." "You are not going alone, Minho." "That is an order, Sergeant." Park turned to the rest of the squad. "We are all going. We hit the ship, plant charges at the reactor core, and blow it from the inside." Junho stood up despite his wounded leg. Hana finished bandaging her own shoulder and picked up her rifle. Woojin cracked his knuckles, the sound echoing across the silent battlefield. "We are all going home," Junho said quietly. "Or none of us are." No one disagreed. The assault on the command ship began at sunset. The humans moved fast, faster than they should have been able to move with their injuries. They reached the outer hull in minutes, cutting through the Krath patrols with vicious efficiency. Yuna blew open an access hatch. They poured inside. Telos watched the helmet camera feeds from the command center. He could not look away. The corridors were filled with Krak soldiers. The humans did not stop. They pushed forward, room by room, corridor by corridor. Park led the charge, his rifle spitting fire. Yuna covered the flanks, her explosives clearing blocked passages. Woojin became a one-man army, his heavy gun chewing through enemy lines. Juno and Hana fought back to back. Juno had run out of ammunition and had picked up a Krath weapon. Hana was firing with one hand and treating wounds with the other. They should have been dead a dozen times over. They kept moving. Bodies piled up. The floors became slick with blood. Still, the humans pushed on. Mira was crying. She did not realize it until she tasted salt on her lips. "How?" she whispered. "How are they still alive?" Telos had no answer. He watched these impossible creatures tear through an army. Watched them take wounds that should have killed them and keep fighting. Watched them refuse to die through sheer force of will. And finally, he understood something. The humans were not fighting because they thought they could win. They were fighting because they did not know how to stop. Because surrender was not in their nature. Because their insane, deadly, beautiful world had forged them into something that would never, ever give up. On the screen, the humans reached the reactor room. Warlord Gren was waiting. The reactor room was massive. Pipes covered the walls, carrying glowing energy to every part of the command ship. The core itself sat in the center, a pillar of blue light that hummed with terrible power. It was the heart of the vessel. If it died, everything died. Warlord Gren stood before it. He was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in scars and thick scales that had turned dark with age. His eyes burned with cold fury. Behind him stood his personal guard, 12 of the deadliest warriors in the Krath Dominion. Captain Minho Park stepped through the door. He was covered in blood. Most of it was not his. His armor was cracked in a dozen places. His left arm hung at an odd angle. He had been shot, stabbed, and beaten across 800 meters of enemy territory. He did not look tired. He looked ready. "So," Gren said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "You are the demons my soldiers fear." "We are not demons," Park said. "We are human." "Human," Gren tested the word. "I do not know this species. Where do you come from?" "A planet called Earth." Is it a warrior world? A place that breeds killers? Park almost smiled. It is a place that breeds survivors. Gren studied him for a long moment. Then he raised one massive hand and pointed at Park. I challenge you, the warlord said. Single combat. You and me. If you win, my guards will let your team destroy the reactor. If I win, you all die here. Minho, no! Sergeant Kim stepped forward, but Park raised his hand to stop her. Why single combat? Park asked Gren. Because I need to know. The warlord's eyes narrowed. I have conquered 100 species. I have never seen anything like you. I need to understand what you are. Park looked at his squad. Junho was barely standing, his wounded leg shaking. Hana was out of medical supplies. Woojin had taken so many hits that his armor was more red than gray. Yuna was holding her side, where shrapnel had torn through. They were all willing to fight. He could see it in their eyes. They would die for him without hesitation. But they did not have to. Okay, Park said. He unclipped his rifle and handed it to Yuna. Then he removed his sidearm, his knife, his spare ammunition. When he was done, he stood before the warlord with only his fists. Gren smiled. His teeth were like broken glass. You are brave, he said. Brave and foolish. We will see. The warlord moved first. He was fast, faster than something that large had any right to be. His fist came down like a hammer, aimed at Park's skull. Park rolled to the side. The blow cracked the metal floor where he had been standing. Park struck back. His fist connected with Gren's ribs. The warlord did not even flinch. He grabbed Park by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Weak, Gren said. He squeezed. Park could not breathe. His vision was going dark. He could hear his squad shouting, but they seemed very far away. Then something stirred inside him. It was old, older than memory, older than civilization. It was the thing that had kept his ancestors alive when predators hunted them across endless plains. The thing that made humans chase their prey for days without rest. The thing that refused to die no matter how much the universe tried to kill it. Park grabbed Gren's wrist. The warlord's scales were thick as armor. Park did not care. He twisted, using his whole body as leverage, and felt something crack. Gren roared and dropped him. Park landed on his feet, gasping for air. His throat was bruised. His vision was still blurry. He did not stop. He launched himself at the warlord, striking again and again. His fists hit scales, muscle, bone. Each blow hurt. Each blow left blood on his knuckles. He did not stop. Gren swung at him. Park ducked, came up inside the warlord's guard, and drove his elbow into Gren's throat. The warlord stumbled. Park kicked his knee. Gren fell. For the first time in his long life, Warlord Gren was on the ground, looking up at an enemy. Park picked up a broken piece of metal from the floor. It was sharp, jagged, covered in his own blood. My world tried to kill us every single day, Park said. His voice was rough, barely a whisper. Earthquakes, storms, predators, disease, everything wanted us dead. And we survived. We survived for 100,000 years. He raised the metal shard. You want to know what we are? Park drove the shard through the gap in Gren's throat armor. We are the species that refuse to die. Gren's body went still. The personal guards stare in shock. Their warlord, the greatest warrior of the Craft Dominion, was dead. Killed by a creature half his size with a piece of scrap metal. They did not try to stop the humans. They did not even move. They simply watched as Yuna limped to the reactor core and began planting her charges. We have 3 minutes, she said when she finished. Nobody needed to be told twice. The humans ran. They dragged each other through corridors filled with bodies, past stunned Krath soldiers who were too shocked to fight, toward the exit they had carved on the way in. Woojin was carrying Junho. Hana was supporting Yuna. Park led the way, his broken body moving on nothing but will. They made it out with 30 seconds to spare. The command ship exploded. The fireball lit up the night sky like a second sun. Shock waves flattened trees and shook the walls of the Volari settlement. The Krath fleet, seeing their flagship destroyed and their warlord killed, broke formation and retreated into hyperspace. Telos watched it happen from the command center. He wept openly, and he did not care who saw. The war was over. The humans stood in the wreckage of the battlefield as dawn broke. They were barely recognizable. Blood and mud covered every inch of them. They held each other upright, like the only thing keeping them standing was stubbornness. Telos approached them slowly. His guards followed at a distance, still afraid of these creatures, still unsure what to make of them. "Captain Park," Telos said. His voice was thick with emotion. "You saved us. You saved all of us." Park looked at him. His eyes were tired. More tired than Telos had ever seen anyone look. "Just doing our job," he said. Telos reached into his robes and produced a small crystalline medal. It was the highest honor the Volari could give, reserved for heroes of legend. He held it out with trembling hands. Park took it gently. He looked at it for a moment, then tucked it into his belt. "Thank you," he said. "Is there somewhere we can get hot food? We have not eaten in 2 days." Telos stared. 2 days? You fought for 2 days without food? Wujin shrugged. "We were busy." Later, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. The story of 5 humans who defeated an invasion force became legend. The coalition officially reclassified human military capabilities. Requests for human assistance increased every single day. Months later, a new species sent a desperate message to the coalition. They were being conquered. They needed help. They needed it now. A coalition officer reviewed the request. He smiled, stamped the approval, and sent it to the newly formed Terran Intervention Corps. His message was simple. Hold on. The Deathworlders are coming. And across the galaxy, those who preyed on the weak began to learn a new kind of fear. Because humanity had arrived. And humanity protected its own. The galaxy had always feared the monsters lurking in the dark between stars. They built walls against them. They prayed they would never come. They never imagined that one day the monsters would fight for them. The Volari colony of Ceres 4 was burning. High Commander Telos stood before the observation window and watched fire bloom across the farming districts. His thin, delicate hands trembled against the glass. The Volari were not built for war. Their bones were hollow, their skin was soft, their eyes could not even handle bright light without pain. For 10,000 years they had lived in peace, growing crops and studying the stars. Now the Krath had come. The Krath were everything the Volari were not. They were large, covered in thick scales, with teeth made for tearing flesh. They traveled from world to world, taking what they wanted, enslaving those who survived. Their warships filled the sky above Ceres 4 like a dark cloud. 20 ships, 3,000 warriors, heavy weapons that could crack the planet open if they wished. "High Commander," said Liaison Officer Mira, her voice shaking, "the Krath are demanding our surrender. They want all our food supplies. They want our people for their labor camps." Telos closed his large, dark eyes. "How many civilians?" 200,000. 200,000 Volari. Farmers, teachers, children. All of them would become slaves. Many would die in the Krath mines. The rest would wish they had. "Send a message to the Galactic Coalition," Telos said quietly. "Tell them we need military reinforcements, immediately." Mira's fingers flew across her console. The message went out. They waited. The response came within the hour. Telos read it 3 times, certain he had misunderstood. All coalition forces are committed to other conflicts, he said aloud, his voice hollow. They cannot send help. Then we are lost, Mira whispered. Wait. Telos pointed at the bottom of the message. They say there is one option. A new species, recently admitted to the coalition. They have a small unit available for rapid deployment. Mira looked at the species name. She did not recognize it. Humans? I have never heard of them. What world are they from? It does not say. How many soldiers can they send? Telos checked the message again. His stomach dropped. The message does not specify. It did not matter. They had no choice. Telos sent his acceptance. Any help was better than none. Even if these humans could only delay the Krath for a few hours, it might give some civilians time to escape. 3 days passed. The Krath tightened their grip on the planet. They destroyed 2 more farming districts. They sent daily messages promising mercy if the Volari surrendered. Everyone knew these were lies. On the 3rd day, a ship dropped out of hyperspace. Telos rushed to the command center. His officers were already staring at their screens in confusion. Is that the reinforcement fleet? He asked. No, High Commander. The tactical officer's voice was strange. It is one ship. One ship? A carrier? A battle cruiser? No, sir. It appears to be a cargo freighter. Telos felt his heart sink. He looked at the screen. The ship was small, battered, covered in scorch marks and patched holes. It looked like it had been through 100 battles and refused to die. The name painted on its side was in an alien language. When the translator processed it, Telos blinked. The Stubborn Mule. What kind of name was that for a warship? They are hailing us, Mira said. On screen. The display flickered. A face appeared. It was one of the most unsettling things Telos had ever seen. The creature had a flat face with small eyes set forward, like a predator. Its skin was an odd, pinkish-brown color. When it spoke, Telos could see white bones inside its mouth. This is Captain Minho Park of Ironside Squad, the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough. We received your distress call. We heard you needed help. Telos leaned forward. Captain Park, we are grateful for your response. How large is your fleet? How many troops are you bringing? The human made a strange expression. Its lips curved upward, but its eyes did not seem happy. Fleet? There is no fleet. It is just us. Just your ship? How many soldiers aboard? 5. The command center went silent. Telos thought his translator had malfunctioned. I am sorry, he said carefully. Did you say 5? 500? No. 5. The human held up one of its strange 5-fingered hands. There are 5 of us. Where do you want us? Mira made a sound like she was choking. Telos gripped the edge of his console to stay upright. Perhaps you do not understand the situation. The Krath have 20 warships. They have over 3,000 warriors. They have heavy artillery, armored vehicles, and air support. This is a full invasion force. The human nodded. Yes, we read the briefing on the way here. We know what we are facing. And you still came? With 5 soldiers? We were the only ones available, the human shrugged. So here we are. Telos did not know what to say. This was not a rescue. This was a joke. 5 soldiers against 3,000. They would be dead within minutes of landing. Behind Captain Park, another human appeared. This one was smaller, with long dark hair tied back from its face. Its expression was the same as the captain's. Calm, unbothered, almost amused. Captain, the new human said, are we doing this or not? I want to see what these Krath look like up close. Mira pulled up tactical data with shaking hands. High Commander, should I send them our enemy intelligence? Our defensive positions? Telos nodded numbly. What did it matter? 5 soldiers would change nothing. The data transmitted. There was a long pause. Then the smaller human laughed. It was a strange, sharp sound that made Telos's skin crawl. Captain, she said, Look at this. 3,000 enemies. 20 ships. This is perfect. Captain Park's lips curved again. Sergeant Kim, are you thinking what I am thinking? Finally, the one called Sergeant Kim said, "A fair fight." The transmission ended. Telos stared at the blank screen for a long time. "Hi, Commander," Miro whispered. "What do we do?" Telos had no answer. He had called for reinforcements. He had no idea what had answered.